I'm talking about beans, the most healthiest food on planet Earth that'll reduce your bad cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, up to 5% within just 3 to 4 weeks of introducing it into your diet. Helps in your weight loss and weight management because it helps produce GLP-1, the satiety hormone, which people are now calling the weight loss drug. It'll help you be leaner without even trying. Staple in so-called blue zones where people lived more than 100 years happy. I know what you're thinking. Beans doesn't work for me. I get gassy, I get bloated, I feel like a walking gas bottle. It's just not for me. Here is the thing. It's not you. It's not beans. It's your gut microbiome, and I'll show you what's happening in your gut. Now, by the end of this video, I'll show you how to fix it. Before we get into the gut, I need to show you what exactly is in beans. This is the bean. The outer layer is called testa, which is insoluble fiber, such as cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin. This part also has polyphenols, anthocyanins, and isoflavones. 40 to 50% of the bean is full of starch. Now, don't panic. This starch is slow release starch, so the glycemic index is actually low, and most of the starch is converted into resistant starch in your cooking and cooling process. Now, remember, our digestive juices cannot break down resistant starch, so it'll end up straight into colon. Another 20 to 25% of this is our most favorite ingredient, protein. Yes, it is a little low in methionine, that's why it gets a bad reputation, but when you combine it with high fiber breads, sourdough, multigrain breads, or multigrain roti, brown rice, quinoa and stuff, that becomes complete protein. So I wouldn't stress about it, but it's high in lysine. Galacto-oligosaccharides. Now, although very small portion, these are very fast fermenting sugars, and these are the ones that are causing problem in your gut. And I'll tell you what to do about it. And then, now, like all plant-based foods, there are some anti-nutrients as well. I don't want to sugarcoat, such as phytates, lectins, and saponins. Now, these are of least of the concern because soaking and cooking will completely remove them. And from the belly button, we have this tiny leaf-like structure that's packed with vitamin B. It's one of the best sources for folate on planet Earth. It also has iron, zinc, potassium, magnesium, and whatnot. Okay, so now what happens when you eat these beans? So the protein, starch, and your vitamin B and so on are all absorbed in your small intestine. The gauze, raffinose, tachyones, and verbascose, and the resistant starch, and the testa, all the insoluble fiber, cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, our body can't digest it, so they all spill into the distal end of the small intestine and they enter into your colon undigested. So as soon as gauze comes in, bifidobacterial species start to explode. They're all rod-shaped bacteria, such as Bifidobacterium longnum, Bifidobacterium adolescens. When they're fermenting the gauze, raffinose, tachyones, and verbascose, they produce acetate. Now this is where it gets super interesting. Now this acetate goes into your bloodstream, goes into your heart, goes into your liver, goes into your brain, and every other cell in your body goes into your mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and the end result, you'll feel super energetic, you'll not feel foggy, and the afternoon crash is probably your gut bugs not doing their thing because they're not getting the foods they need. Okay, what next? The resistant starch goes in, and that's fermented by a bacteria called Ruminococcus bromi, which is like the keystone species that help break down resistant starch, which is spherical in shape. They produce more acetate. Here is where it gets super interesting. Now, they cross-feed a bunch of other bacteria, such as Faecalibacterium, Eubacteria, and whatnot. Now, these cross-feeders, they produce butyrate, which is the primary food for the colonocytes, which is the cell wall of your colon. Now, they go in and they improve the mitochondrial function of all these colonocytes, which will make your colonic barrier much more stronger. That means your immunity is much higher. Not only that, so now if any pathogenic bacteria makes into your gut, this barrier is actually going to help you, and the same barrier actually helps you prevent colorectal cancer. The stronger it is, the more better off you are. Now let's talk about the most important bit, the testa, which has hemicellulose. Now this hemicellulose feeds bacteria called bacteroids and Prevotella, and they produce propionate. This propionate goes into your liver and it will lower the cholesterol production. Now that is one way your LDL goes down. And not to mention, the fiber already binds to bile and takes it out of your body. Now here is the kicker. This is even more interesting. This propionate, we have L cells in between these colonocytes. Now, this propionate goes and stimulates the L cells to produce GLP-1 and PYY. Now, this is the satiety hormone, so you'll feel full, and this is fantastic for weight control and weight management. He's an absolute champion. Lastly, cellulose and lignin, they just pass out of your body, but they give you some really big dumps. So they help bulk up your stool. Oopsie daisy, I totally forgot. I was supposed to talk about the bloody gas. What is turning us into gas bottle? So when your ruminococcus, your rosburia, your bifidobacterium are producing acetate, they produce hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Now, hydrogen, it's known to make pH lower, which means the entire pH of your gut becomes acidic. And when that happens, your gut kids' grandparents, methanogens, they're not bacteria, they're archaebacteria. They're much more primitive than bacteria, so that's why they're great grandparents of your gut kids. They start popping up, but they just don't immediately come up. They take at least 2 to 3 weeks to start coming up. Not only the hydrogen, all the short chain fatty acids, they're actually acids, they're acidic, so they drop the pH of your entire gut. And one of the beautiful things, this acidic environment is a hostile environment for any pathogen. The acidic nature suppresses most of the pathogens and clear the ground for your great grandparents to come and start playing lawn balls, which is your methanogens. These guys are not just chilling there, but they have some really important job and they're good at it. What they do is they consume the hydrogen and carbon dioxide and they produce methane plus water. So if you look at the equation, they're consuming 4 units of hydrogen to produce 1 unit of methane and 2 units of water. So the volume of gas is significantly going down. Now it gets so beautiful because it is not only just producing methane, it is actually removing the thermodynamic brakes. So which means the saccharolytic bacteria can start producing more and more acetate and more butyrate and more propionate. So it's a chain reaction. So you're getting more and more short chain fatty acids and the gut is becoming more and more healthy. Now if you think about this whole thing, the benefits that you're getting, the acetate feeling energetic, the GLP-1 getting the satiety, all the fiber, cholesterol going down. And I also forgot to talk about serotonin, which actually relaxes your vagus nerve and your entire nervous system, sending signals to your brain, and you're feeling a lot less anxious and much more calmer. The gas is just like postage for this entire package. You know what I mean? Okay, now the big question is, why are you becoming a walking gas bottle that is about to explode? If you won't eat high fiber foods or beans that often, you do not have sufficient great grandparents living in your gut. That obviously creates this mismatch and you'll feel more bloated and gassy. Hang on, what about the smelly gas though? Now the smelly gas actually comes from proteolytic bacteria or sulfur reducing bacteria, which typically feeds off protein or any sulfurous vegetables like cabbage, onion, garlic, leeks, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage. But when you have good populations of saccharolytic bacteria and methanogens, the numbers of sulfur reducing bacteria and the proteolactic bacteria actually goes down. So you don't have to worry about the smelly gas, because that smelly gas not only hurts people around you, but it is actually hurting your internal lining of your gut, which is absolutely not good. And that group of bacteria not only produce hydrogen sulfide, they also produce methane ethiol, dimethyl sulfate, nitroso compounds and whatnot. And that gives that rotten egg and rotten cabbage smell. What's the fix? You got to take it extremely slowly. If you haven't been eating beans, then start with just a handful of different types of beans and just slowly keep ramping it up and see how your gut is adjusting. Again, you have to just remember the saccharolytic bacteria and your methanogens. You have to just wait it out a bit. One very important tip is when you soak your beans and when you rinse the water off, you do that multiple times, soak it for about 12 to 18 hours or so, and then you pressure cook. The GOS, raffinose, tachyos and verbascos actually drop. So there is not much rapid fermentation happening at that saccharolytic stage. In fact, I pressure cook them and rinse them, cool them, and then reheat them and have them. That'll build up more resistant starch. So the glycemic index is actually low. It's about 35 to 40 or so. One other super easy tip is use some spices like any carminative species such as cloves, cumin, cardamom, bay leaf, fennel seeds, ginger, coriander. They all have some essential oils like gingerol in ginger, eugenol in cloves and whatnot. Now they actually help relax your gut lining and help you pass some of the gas as it's building up. So your gut kids are not actually blowing balloons, but they're actually blowing bubbles out. So that way you can mitigate some of that bloaty and gassy feel. What if you have taken it slow, you've rinsed your beans, you've drained the water, you've cooled them, you've taken multiple weeks to slowly introduce them, and you're still struggling with gas or cramps or blood or whatnot? Then that is not about beans. That definitely is something underlying. So there could be SIBO or IBD or any enzyme deficiency, whatnot. So I urge you to please consult with a gastroenterologist and an accredited practicing dietitian who can give you custom treatment plans. Or have any pre-existing conditions, the last thing I would do is take advice from YouTube, including me. That's not where you get advice from. Please kindly follow your healthcare professional's advice. It could be the mix of gut kids that are in your gut. If they're angry or smart or handsome or great grandparents, so just take it slow. So your gut kids are actually not playing music with your drums. Rather, they're actually supporting your entire day, making you energetic and stronger. Last time I shared an interactive healthy plate builder. Thousands of you have logged into it and used it. Some of you have just loved it and have been using it. That's fantastic. And some of you have asked me, can I actually spin up a recipe with the ingredients that I've selected? So here you go. Now I've put in a button there which says show me some recipes. So the AI agent actually goes to the internet and finds you some recipes, all for free. Yeah, I will put that link in the description for you, but I have only one request. Just comment plentifully before you click on that link so I can give you access. And it'll also help the algorithm promote this to more people so we can actually together make more guts a lot colorful, happy and energetic. Until next time, love you guys. Take care.